On Tech News Today, HP promotes Windows 7, Google deletes a couple of Chrome extensions, and a time-traveling vulture. All that and more coming up next.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
It's Monday, January 20th, 2014, and this is Tech News Today. Tech News Today is brought to you by ShareFile. Enhance your workflow. Send files of almost any size easily and securely with ShareFile by Citrix. Try ShareFile today. For a 30-day free trial, go to sharefile.com and click the microphone and enter TNT. And by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your used gadgets. Find out what your used iPhone, iPad, and other Apple products are worth at Gazelle.com. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Mike Elgin.
And I'm Leo Laporte.
Sarah and Jason have the day off. Tech News Today explores the top tech news in 30 minutes or less. We'll
Happy
see.
Martin Luther King Day.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. We work.
Yeah, we do.
No holiday for us.
That's right. And happy to do it. Well, let's jump straight into the news, and it's bad news for Microsoft. HP is promoting Windows 7 on some of its PCs, saying that the 4-year-old OS is backed by popular demand. Most major PC makers also offer Windows 7, but quietly and for business customers. HP may be the only vendor right now that's making a big deal out of it, and for consumers. They're even discounting the Windows 7 machines by $150. This must be horrible news for Microsoft.
Somebody compared it to classic Coke coming back.
Yeah.
Windows 8 was new Coke, but I think the tagline that's got to hurt, that's got to sting for Microsoft is backed by popular demand. But they know that this is the case. Windows 7 actually grew in market share in the last 6 months.
Yes.
Windows 8 is only 10% of market share. This is, I think the question is, can you at this point declare Windows 8 a flop?
Well, I think you can, and I think that Microsoft has, in fact, done so internally. They wouldn't say that publicly, obviously, but there's been news ferreted out by Paul Thurrott, actually, saying that Microsoft is actually accelerating the version of Windows that they're going to call Windows 9. They want something called Windows 9 as soon as possible because they feel that Windows 8 and 8.1 are tainted.
Not soon enough. Still more than a year off.
That's right.
But the other thing that I thought was interesting, and it is an acknowledgement by Microsoft that people aren't happy with what happened with Windows 8, is that Windows 9, according to Paul, will have a start menu.
Right.
And a boot to desktop, and it's going to look probably a lot like Windows 7. I really understand the issue because if you're a business, you don't want to retrain people. And Windows 8 is such a departure in terms of the user interface that means a massive retraining. And I think it's just easier to stick with 7.
Yeah. And I think, this backed by popular demand thing, I mean, I remember that it used to be, 10 years ago, everybody wanted the fastest, latest, greatest thing.
Right.
Everybody did.
Right.
And nowadays, people are like, enough already. And people don't want to upgrade.
That's an interesting point. Computers at some point got good enough that you didn't need the processors were fast enough. You didn't need really to change the operating system. Just to do so is just, to upgrade it. Same thing, it happened earlier with Office, where you didn't really need to change Word, but people wouldn't buy a new Word unless you added some features. Photoshop, kind of the same thing. I think we've reached a maturity now, backed by popular demand, though, from one of Microsoft's biggest OEM partners, the HP. That's gotta hurt.
It's one thing to offer it. It's another thing to promote it. It's yet another to offer a big discount to really drive the point home.
It's like HP's like Sherman offering the choke sign to.
Exactly.
Don't get me started on the 49ers. I'm sorry. Still been mourning a little bit. You see, I'm wearing black.
It's a sad thing. It really is. Well, we're going to talk about South Korea's latest and greatest wireless technology, and it's going to make you envious, I can assure you of that. But before that, I want to talk about ShareFile from Citrix. ShareFile is awesome. I'm so glad they're a sponsor because this is a fantastic service. I don't mess around with security anymore. I've been burned so many times by bad services, by services that stop functioning. And what happens nowadays is everybody's sending attachments around. We all know better. We shouldn't be sending attachments around.
It's the wrong thing to do. Do not. I say it over and over.
And so ShareFile enables you to send files, huge files if you want to, and also small files, as a secure link instead of the actual blob or binary large object.
I can vouch for this. I do this. I used to use another guy, I won't name names, And it was such a problem. I sent ads to the radio stations for the radio show, and people were deleting the ads. They'd say, I got them, and delete them, and the other guy couldn't get them. So finally, I moved to ShareFile, and it has been a boon, and that's what we use. I get an email. When they download it, I get, who downloaded it. I can say, you can only download this for the next week, which is usually what I want to do with ads. I don't want to let them download old ads. Right. So it's been a boon for me. I love ShareFile.
It's the peace of mind you get knowing that this file is secure, knowing whether or not they've opened it.
And that it made it, yeah.
It's a fantastic service, and really, the other thing that drives me nuts is I send a file, I don't even think it's a large file, a gigabyte or two, to some company, and
boing.
They reject it because it's too big of a file. Sometimes they tell you, sometimes they don't.
Right.
Sometimes they tell you, and your own spam filter hides the reply. So it's really a good idea to send via ShareFile. This is a fantastic service that I really, really like, and I highly recommend it to every single person listening. If you're not using ShareFile yet, you need to sign up for our free trial right now. No credit card required, nothing to lose. You'll see why millions of professionals rely on it every single day. So get started today with our 30-day free trial. Go to sharefile.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage.
Not this microphone.
Not this one.
The one at the top.
Leo clicks on this one. Make sure you enter TNT, and that shows support for Tech News Today. And make sure that you do it today. Don't delay. Just try it. Sharefile.com, type in TNT, and you will thank us, and you'll thank ShareFile. We certainly do for their support of TNT. Well, South Korea, you're going to love this if you're in South Korea, and if you're not, you're going to hate it. South Korea's SK Telecom says they're rolling out a blistering fast 300 megabits per second wireless service in late 2014. By contrast, LTE goes up to about 75 megabits per second, theoretically. LTE Advanced, which they've already rolled out in South Korea, up to 150 megabits per second. The carrier says their upcoming service, which is called LTE Advanced 3-band Carrier Aggregation, a beautiful poetic name.
I love this ad. If you're watching video, the Korean guy's just blown away.
And that's the face you would have if you had this service.
Oh, my God. So what's Korean for, oh, my God?
So just to bring this to real terms, an 800 megabyte movie will download to your phone in 22 seconds.
But how many people really download 800 megabyte movies to their phones?
Well, I would if it would only took 22 seconds.
I think that's one. This is a reflection of a couple of things. One, that South Korea, unfortunately, here in the U.S. we have legacy infrastructure.
Right.
So they're starting from scratch. And this is true in a lot of the rest of the world. We have GSM. We have CDMA, we have all this conflicting stuff. They can go right to the good stuff.
Yeah.
But it also shows, I think, and I may be wrong, I'd love to hear from people who live in South Korea, how important mobile is there. That I know this is true in Japan, that many people don't have desktops, they use mobile.
That's right.
So you do need the speed, because it is your main PC.
There are a lot of similarities with Japan, and in Japan in particular, so many people have commutes in very, very crowded trains that they have a huge amount. Yes.
Yeah.
They're watching movies. They're building websites. They're doing all kinds of things that we would never dream of.
Like this.
Yes, exactly.
Really close up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a similar thing in South Korea. They are smartphone happy, and they have really, really fast, and expect really, really fast.
Do any carriers in the U.S. do LTE Advanced, or are we still in the earlier version of LTE?
I don't believe any of the carriers
Verizon, I think, wants to.
Yeah, I think that's still in our future.
Right.
And the crazy thing about this announcement, by the way, is that they're already promising. So there's a 3-band technology. The way they do it is they combine 3 bands together to get this kind of performance.
Right.
They're looking at a future version of 4 to 5 band LTE. And in Barcelona at Mobile World Congress, when they roll this out, they're not only going to demonstrate it, they're going to demonstrate a prototype version of it that'll get up to 450 megabits per second wireless.
And I don't even think that's the max. I mean, according to the spec, under ideal conditions, LTE Advanced could go to a gigabit.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's absolutely incredible. Well, Google yanked 2 Chrome browser extensions from its web store over the weekend. The extensions were serving up ads in violation of Google's terms of service. Basically, these things were putting ads all over the page, and Google allows you to put an ad on just one part of the page. One of the extensions was called Add to Feedly, and the other was called Tweet This Page. Now, their current policy is pretty new. It's actually from December, and it was interesting to learn that Google doesn't check extensions for these kinds of things, and even if they did, it wouldn't really happen. Essentially, what's happening, Leo, is that advertisers and unscrupulous advertisers, the kind who put junk on those toolbars and those kinds of advertisers who are always looking for ways to cheat and get ads in front of eyeballs. They're doing two things. One of them is that they are bribing or offering to pay legitimate extension makers lots of money to say, hey, let's slip this code in there. And the other thing is they're actually buying some of these. Some of the extensions are kind of struggling financially. They'll buy them.
That's actually what happened to Cher Feedley he sold it for a small sum, he says.
That's right.
The thing that bothers me here is that while Google does check the extension when it's first added to the Chrome store, the updates are automatic and Google does not check updates. So really, any extension is vulnerable. Code could be added to the extension, and there doesn't seem to be any oversight. This seems like a huge security problem in the long run.
It does, and I contacted Google about this and asked them to comment, and haven't heard back from them yet about their process and whether this event will change. They actually learned about this from the Wall Street Journal.
That's not good.
Yeah, that's not good.
You're finding out about it by reading in the paper is not good.
That's right. And I think, just looking at this from the 10,000-foot level, the really vexing thing about this is the average user is simply using their computer and an ad pops up. They don't know where it came from. They don't, it's almost impossible for the ordinary user to track it down and do something about it. So this is a real problem, and
Well, and more so, I mean, the Journal knew about it because users had said, hey, I'm seeing ads on pages, including Google's own homepage, the search page, where you don't normally see ads. What's the problem? But that's only because this was a noisy extension. What if somebody comes along and silently injects malware into these extensions? That really concerns me. I think this is something Google's going to have to address.
It really is. Well, another thing that Google has to address is that their biggest Android partner, Samsung, may soon roll out a version of its operating system interface for its smartphones that looks a lot and acts a lot like Google Now. The screenshots leaked by writer Evan Blass on his EvLeaks Twitter account show what he claims is the next version of Samsung's TouchWiz user interface. This is, of course, the much maligned user interface for Samsung devices. The new UI appears to show Google Now-like cards with updates on flight information, fitness results, weather, location, stuff like that. This is a real problem for Google because I think that the main reason they support Android and have Android is so they can sell ads, and they can be front and center for search. Now, of course, the Amazons of the world are already kind of ignoring the Google services and replacing them with their own, and Samsung increasingly looks to be more of an Amazon type of partner for Google.
They need it for differentiation, and it's worked so far. I mean, the Samsung phones are easily the biggest Android phones. I mean, there's not even a close second. And yet I find myself, and I bet you a lot of consumers find themselves saying, I don't want TouchWiz. I don't want these carrier or manufacturer adaptations. I want pure Google. I think you feel the same way.
I feel exactly the same way.
And Google has it. Google does. It's interesting now because the acquisition of Motorola looks smarter and smarter, even though it's $12 billion. At least Google has in their back pocket a manufacturer who can make a relatively pure Google experience phone. And I think what you'll see is the market reaction to this. Now, maybe Samsung will do it right, and everybody will say this is great. But it reminds me a little bit of Facebook Home. I think I don't really want any company to take over my home screen. And I suspect that people will say, good, I'm just going to buy a Motorola instead.
You could imagine them doing it right. I mean, you use the Moto X. I've used the Moto X.
I love the Moto X.
And one of the great things...
Or the Nexus 5. You use the Nexus 5, right?
Yes, exactly.
Again, a pure Google experience.
Yes, but the part of it that's the best part of the Google experience is the Google Now interface that's right there. And I think Google has done a lousy job of making and surfacing the Google Now product throughout. It's just now getting around putting it on the desktop in a Chrome extension. Here Samsung comes along and puts something like Google Now right front and center. Hopefully it's optional. Hopefully you can turn it off, etc. But if it, I think I might select that option. I might like.
If it works.
Yeah.
And to be clear, this is not Google Now. This is just the same way Samsung uses S Voice instead of Google Voice. They're going to use their own tech. Well, see, that's what worries me because I don't know.
Do they have a search?
They have bad taste.
Yeah,
I guess that's the only way I can put it. I'm not fond of what they do.
Well, in Hollywood news, Paramount Pictures is done releasing movies on film. Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Films will no longer be using film, at least in the United States. The Hollywood studio told theater owners that Anchorman 2 is the last movie they'll distribute in the U.S. using 35mm film.
Should just be the last movie they distribute ever. What a crappy movie that was. I'm sorry. That's editorializing.
That was horrible. And the first movie, this is even worse.
Blind in a lighthouse and then a shark and then I'm sorry.
The first movie that represents the future, this is even more depressing, is The Wolf of Wall Street.
All digital.
All digital. It's the first one that Paramount has released exclusively to digital, and it's kind of ironic because a lot of this movie was filmed with film, and of course Martin Scorsese is a big advocate of preserving film. So
yeah, I guess it really comes down to how many of the movie theaters in the U.S. can accept this. I'm sure there are, and this makes me sad. There's some great old theaters that are probably still got those big old projectors, and they can only do film. What are they going to do? They won't be getting first-run films, I guess.
8% of U.S. theaters can't handle digital.
It's that low,
and they can't afford. It's that low. 92% of U.S. Well, 92% of theaters have some digital capability. That doesn't mean that 100% of the screens within any given theater are digital.
Does it mean they bring a hard drive to the theater? They're still delivering something, or is it all over the internet?
They currently deliver a hard drive, and they're working. Yeah, they're working on satellite delivery, which is going to be way cheaper. Right now, the film prints cost about $2,000 for the theater. The theater has to pay.
The stock is very, very expensive.
That's right. The digital version is $100, and when it's via satellite, it'd be even cheaper.
But if you think about the bandwidth of a FedEx truck.
Right.
Carrying a 2 terabyte hard drive is much faster than the bandwidth of a satellite or any other distribution. I guess the satellite could trickle it down over time.
That's right. And by the way, for anybody wondering, a digital projector will cost a theater about $70,000.
Wow.
So for a small theater that's barely scraping by on popcorn money, this is an.
I think of some great theater, the Rialto up here in Sonoma. We have a lot of little theaters. They're art houses. They have film. They don't have digital.
That's right.
So much for the art house. I guess they're going the way of the dinosaur.
Yes, it's a tragic thing, and we're going to speak and we're going to talk about some other dinosaur-like ancient weirdness in just a second.
This one is strange.
This is strange, but first I want to tell you about Gazelle. Gazelle is a service that will buy your old devices and give you really good money for it, so you can buy a brand new device. They want to buy your iPhone, your iPad, your smartphone. They buy all kinds of different devices. They don't buy everything, but they'll buy some of the major brands. And all you have to do to find out if they'll buy your device is go to Gazelle. That's GAZELLE.com. Enter in your device. Basically say what kind of device it is, what shape it's in, and they'll just throw a price up. That price is locked in for 30 days, so you have plenty of time to erase the data on it and ship it to them. If you don't erase the data, they will do that for you. So it's secure. You don't have to worry about your personal information getting in the wrong hands. And they pay fast. They'll pay by check. They'll pay by PayPal. And the best option, I think, is if you get an Amazon gift card as payment, they'll give you 5% extra. And you know you're going to buy stuff on Amazon anyway, so this is just like free money. Offers are good, as I said, for 30 days. So when they show you the price, that's the price for 30 days. And they've got 700,000 very happy customers to whom they've paid more than $100 million. Most of the items that you can send qualify for a free box, which is pretty cool. I plugged in an iPhone 5 with 32 gigs, and Gazelle, at this present moment, will pay $215 for that, $265 if it's unlocked. So that's that to me is like that's a really good price for a device that's no longer the latest and greatest, and nor is it the top of the line. So that's a really excellent deal, and you should go check it out. Check out your device right now, and always remember that the prices go down; they don't go up. So the value of the things you've got lying around in a drawer, in a box, and so on, are declining. So you want to take advantage of their current value, so you don't waste money. What's your iPhone worth? Take a minute, go to Gazelle.com to find out. And like I said, do it now, because the longer you wait, the less value it will have. So Gazelle.com, we thank them for sponsoring this show and for their support of Tech News Today.
Hey, a couple of breaking stories and comments, Mike. One, I just saw John over there go, yeah, which means that Rosetta, the satellite, the Comet probe, woke up successfully. Is that right, John? The European Space Agency launched it in 2004. It has since traveled around the sun 5 times. It is now 500 million miles away from the sun. It is headed towards Comet 67P, which it's scheduled to reach in August. and they woke up Rosetta, and it did say hello. So that's very good news for people who are following the Rosetta probe. Also, Monkey Stick in our chat room said that in his small town, they can't afford a digital projector for the theater. They're actually having a fundraiser, a town-wide fundraiser to get that $70,000 for the digital projector.
That's great.
Digital looks great. I just, one thing it means is the end of 24 frames per second, right? Everything will go to faster frames per second.
And that's controversial because it looks kind of like video to some people.
Yeah. The Fixer tells us in the chat room some of the smaller theaters will get subsidies because, of course, the studios save so much money. It makes sense that they might subsidize that. So just a couple of points I wanted to bring up.
Yes. Well, in other news, Facebook is blocking ads. Believe it or not, they're actually turning down ads from a bunch of dating sites. And they pretty much put the kibosh on new companies with dating site ads until after Valentine's Day.
Well, that makes no sense. That's like saying we're not going to take any bets till after the Super Bowl.
That's right.
What are they talking about?
Well,
why?
They're getting a lot of complaints from users that there are too many.
Oh, too many dating.
And the dating site ads can be kind of sketchy and weird. And it's kind of, if you can believe it, giving Facebook a bit of a bad name. It's
actually depressing because I get the older women in Petaluma want to meet you ad a lot, and it's just making me feel old. So maybe they should just get rid of that.
Yeah, they should. And
if they said younger women, then I'd feel good about it.
And the other interesting aspect of this is that they're no longer allowing dating site advertising through their automated, do it yourself.
You can't just buy it. Yeah.
You have to go through their salespeople, and their salespeople go, I don't think so.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Leo doesn't want to see any more of these.
No more dating
older
sites for
women in Petaluma. Well, there's
this is weird. Get Adam Curry on the horn. This is the strangest story ever.
Well, they've discovered some ancient carvings, and this is a Paleolithic sort of sketches in red in France. France, of course, has lots and lots of really
cave paintings,
ancient
cave
paintings.
Little Lascaux paintings are there. Yeah,
that's right. And these are new ones, and they're actually pictures of vultures. Now, what's interesting to me, to a person obsessed by the tech media and so on, is that the tech site, The Register, actually noticed that these
it's
cave
the
paintings
same
look like their logo.
That's just what. Do you think time
Very
travel?
bizarre.
What?
It's got to be time travel. That's the only possible explanation. Somebody at The Register is time traveling.
That's
And they're
bizarre.
spreading the word. Yes.
At first, I thought because I didn't remember the Register logo. I remember it was a vulture. I thought, well, maybe it's just not so stylized, but no, it's highly stylized.
Yeah.
It seems unlikely. It's just a very strange coincidence.
It's very, very strange.
Or is it?
Yes, that's right. You heard it here first, folks. The rumor started here. Well, Leo,
This has been fun.
this has been great.
I want to thank Sarah Lane for taking the day off.
You should come here every day and be on the show, no matter who is here and who isn't.
I've been trying to talk Lisa into letting me do that. She says, no, you can't do any more shows. You're busy.
Oh, you do a few shows. You have
All
a
right.
lot of shows.
All right.
You're on camera all the time.
But
Well,
it is fun, and I thank you for letting me do
thank
this.
you so much
Yeah.
for stepping in, and I really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Well, you can, of course, find us at TNT@twid.tv, and you should send us your news tips. Call us at 260-TNT-SHOW. Leave a message for us. Also, upvote the stories you'd like to see us cover on our subreddit at technewstoday.reddit.com. And visit our Tech News Today Google Plus community, where you'll find our website at twit.tv/TNT. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Are we allowed to do less than 30 minutes?
Yeah, it's 30 minutes or less.
Or less.
Or less.
People thought in the chat room, they said, if Leo's there, it's going to be a 2-hour
That's
TNT.
what I thought. That's what I thought.
No.
Very impressive.
No, I can keep it short.
This is the same length as our other shortest show.
He did this, and he did this. But I think this meant it's over for
That
the
means-
Niners, but this meant you're choked again, and that is not okay. I'm just saying.